Continuing the conversation now here on the Steve Gruber Show. Joining me now is the governor of Louisiana, or Louisiana. I'm going to get this right, Mr. Governor.
Well, you can say it either way. It just depends on what part of Louisiana you're from.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
see, now you got me. Now you got me. Jeff Landry is the governor. We're just talking here before we went on. Couldn't believe there for a period of time you guys had a Democrat in charge of that place.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. We had the only Democrat governor in the South for a little while, and it was because Louisiana is an absolutely, I believe, a very, very deep red state.
Agreed.
And this last election cycle actually proved that. When we swept and we took supermajorities now in both houses, I did something that was really had never been done because we have this open jungle primary system, unlike other states, and we won in the first round. It was the first time it had ever been done.
So that's 50 plus 1.
50 plus 1.
And
50 plus 1.
No more.
And we wiped it out.
Right.
Yeah, no one did. They said we couldn't do it. And you think about, look here, I'm a guy that spent a term in the U.S. House during the 2010 class, a big class that came in then and left as the third most conservative member of the House. And it just goes to show you that the people of Louisiana were ready for some very bold change, especially after 8 years of a Democrat governor.
Now, before you were governor, you were the attorney general for the state of Louisiana, and that's important when I look at some of the things that are happening in this country, because those on the left will use the courtroom anytime they can't win in Congress or the state house. They'll take it to court, but suddenly those folks on the right are figuring out how to win in the courtroom, whether it's immunity, Eileen Cannon throwing out the unconstitutional work of Jack Smith, and so on and so forth. Or if I look at the EPA getting handed its backside, shall we say here on this nice show, by different places, West Virginia, the fishermen in Maine. I mean, these are important cases protecting liberty and taking all this regulation out of our way, because to be prosperous, we can't have all this regulation, can we?
Oh, no, we can't. We absolutely can't. Look, as a former business owner, I will tell you that having the boot of the federal government or any government on the throats of businesses is not good. It's counterproductive for job creation. I think it's one of the things that deleverages the United States against the world in creating great jobs and a great product to be serviced around the world is our regulatory environment. I think the United States Supreme Court this year, probably one of the most monumental cases that kind of goes unnoticed by just the average person out there, is the Chevron deference that was overturned. But that's
a sea change.
That is it. No, yes, it is monumental.
Yeah.
It is it is a sea change. It's monumental for the regulatory agencies out there. I think that what you see is now, with that ruling now, that only arms Republican attorney generals from around the country, I mean, with even more arrows in their quiver to go out there and protect business industry and American way of life. I mean, being the attorney general and exactly what you said is that policy making in the country now has been predominantly in the courts. That's a bad thing.
It's a terrible thing.
But it's what drove me to be the attorney general, quite frankly.
And I'm going to bring up something else, the southern states. Now, we have issues where I am in Michigan with immigration problems, but in the southern states, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, the flood of illegals coming in, and when Texas says, listen, we're going to make a law so that we can export those people back to where they came from, the federal government says you can't do that. I think the state should have the right to do that. That's where attorney generals come in, governors come in and say, listen, we have a right and a duty to protect our state. Do you not?
Well, no, we do. We do. In fact, we took, when I was attorney general, and then the current attorney general who worked for me as the solicitor general, her name's Liz Murrow, took over for me after I became the governor. We sued the Biden administration multiple times on a number of immigration fronts. And I can tell you, what amazes me about the immigration problem as we talk about it is the fact that for some reason the left just glosses over the fact that with that immigration wave that's coming out is who's coming across and what are they bringing? And what is it? I mean, we just had a young lady in the city of New Orleans get murdered by, again, an illegal alien.
Yeah, we've had that in Michigan. We've had that in Georgia with Laken Riley, Ruby Garcia in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in your state. And so I've asked people time and again, how many American women have to be murdered for these policies to go away? Now, I don't know that Joe Biden is going to make it to Election Day. I don't know if he's going to survive to Election Day. He's very frail, very feeble. But it doesn't matter to me. The point is, these are bad policies on the border, bad policies on Bidenomics, bad policies across the board.
Well, those policies are not Bidenomics. They're Democratic.
That's my point.
The Democrat Party's policies, and they own it. All of them own it, whether it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Schumer, the whole party. Anyone that they stand up on that stage in August is going to have to own those problems. And another thing we talk about on the board that we forget about is the fentanyl crisis. I mean, do you realize we're losing 100,000 Americans a year?
A friend of mine.
100,000.
His son died.
Yeah.
19 years old, just about 2 months ago. Good kid. Going to college. Went to college. He just took a little sample, just being a college kid. Dead. You can't make the mistakes that people your age and my age. You can't play that game. You'll end up dead.
Look, I got a 19. Sharon and I have a 19-year-old ourselves. We worry sick about this.
Right.
But what's amazing to me is that we could do a lot by sealing the border just on that.
Absolutely.
And those deaths would start to fall. I mean, think about 100,000 lives. We lost 55,000 during the entire Vietnam War, and we literally almost tore the country apart.
Right.
We're losing 100,000 a year right now. And our enemies out there are killing a whole generation, like
Absolutely
you said,
true.
without a shot.
Absolutely true. And life expectancy in America, from the time I was born in 1965 until a couple of years ago, had gone up 19%. The only thing that's bringing it down now are young people dying from fentanyl. I talked to county sheriffs, as you do as governor, I'm sure. There isn't a meth lab to be found in America anymore. There's no money in it because those cartels are pumping so much meth and so many of these other drugs across the border so cheap. Having a meth lab in Louisiana, there's no money in it.
And it's not economical because the cartel control. Look, I'll tell you this. The first lady of Louisiana, my wife, who you met her, she's been to the border more than Kamala Harris. We've been there. We've got National Guards.
I've been to the border more than Kamala Harris. And I live a long way away.
Yes, you do.
You know?
But and when you go there, it's amazing to see. We know that the cartels have an absolute control of that border on the Mexico side. Biden and the Democrats have done nothing about that. They pour all of those poisons into our country, killing, like I said, an entire generation.
Good people.
Without firing a shot.
Right.
There's no reason for us to go to war. They can just send a fentanyl.
Something else about that border. You talk about 30, 40, 50,000 Chinese nationals. Newsflash, you can't just go buy an American Airlines ticket in Beijing and fly out. You have to have permission to leave China. And so if they're arriving at our border, 30, 40, 50,000 of them, that's by design. That's not an accident.
Well, see who it is. They're emptying the jails.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, look, this is an old trick. Napoleon did the same thing back in way back in the day. We know about it. They sent them all to Louisiana. But you know, what is so depressing about it is that the American people for so long have been blinded by these particular policies, but they're waking up. And unfortunately, waking up to a number of dead people that through these fentanyl overdoses, the violence that they're bringing into our cities. And the violence is not just in the inner cities anymore, it's across the country.
And it's about Democrat policies. And one last question for you here. We got about a minute. I feel an energy here, a unification in the Republican Party I've not seen previously. Didn't see it in Cleveland, didn't see it during the COVID pandemic, of course. Donald Trump has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I think he knows how to seize it because of what happened in Pennsylvania. He can set the course for this country for decades to come. What do you think?
He could. Here's what I tell you. This is the part I'm excited about. This is the part I'm excited about J.D. Vance. I think that J.D. Vance brings to America the American dream that inspired him, that they want, that only Donald Trump can deliver. And that's why the combination, I think, is so deadly. And I think for the Democrats. And it's because of exactly what you said. I think Americans are ready for a reliving of their American dream.
And that's why when I turn on MSNBC right now or Van Jones, they're in full-blown panic. They're having panic attacks. Governor, thank you for being here. I think you're exactly right. It's a new day in America. Again,
it is.
Thank God. Governor Jeff Landry, Louisiana. I think I got that close. Thank you for being here.
Come on, we'll bring you some boudin.
I love that.